Welcome to one of the most exciting days of the year for college football, signing day. We're going to hear about some outstanding future Cowboys this afternoon. We appreciate you all coming. Happy holidays to everyone. It's hard for me to believe that it's already his 7th signing day. Our head football coach, Mr. Craig Bohl.
Well, Kevin mentioned what a great day and a lot of hard work by a whole lot of people. First of all, I thought our coaching staff had come up with a plan, and then we worked the plan. You'll hear from our recruiting office on some of the specifics of some of these players. I'm going to make a couple brief comments, overarching themes, what our emphasis was, and then where we landed. I can't tell you we signed 18 guys today. There's still one guy that's out there that we're working with the U.S. Embassy over in Ivory Coast. Obviously, I did not go to the Ivory Coast, but because of family travel plans, we're working with the Ivory Coast to get the letter. And so a shout out to the State Department. We found the U.S. Embassy has been great to work with, but some of the logistics have not quite gone as smooth as what we might have planned. But getting back to this class, first of all, a lot going on. We're playing football. We're excited about this game that we're playing. So beyond the recruiting, we're preparing for an exciting bowl game. So a lot of activity, which is where we want to be. And I think certainly the success of this season, starting out with the Missouri win and then continuing on, really helped us solidify that our football program is on solid ground, and we became a very attractive school for a lot of prospects. And so these 18 guys, and hopefully the youngster that will have the letter forthcoming, is a great start. What we really looked at doing was always starting close by. I think it's important for us to recognize the high school football in the state of Wyoming. It's been a point of emphasis for us, and while we are not heavily populated, we think that the coaches and the players in this state actually overproduce, and so we're excited about signing Caleb Driscoll from Gillette, and that's a great signee for us. I think he's got a bright future. I watched Caleb play. He played linebacker. We're going to flip him over to the fullback position. I saw him go up and really be a physical player at the point of attack and knock guys back. And so we're one of the few teams that still use a fullback. And so I want to make note of Wyoming and how important that is. And we've signed somebody from the state every year since I've been our head coach. And so I think that that's important, and we'll continue to do that. We also I think we've laid some great groundwork in the state of Colorado. I believe there's maybe 6 or 7 guys. I don't know maybe with this guy that's still out there. That's been a point of emphasis, and I think we've made a big concerted, a lot of inroads. What we found, building relationship with high school coaches, and then a positive experience for our players who are from the state of Colorado. And that has been our best recruiting tool that we have, and I think that beyond Wyoming and Colorado, that's been a backbone of our long-term success. And so that's been a point of emphasis, not only this year, but in the past. The state of Nebraska is also important. So that's kind of a tri-state area for us. I think we've done well in those areas. We signed 2 players from the state of Nebraska, and Ian will talk about those guys in a little bit. But I just want to go through our model. That's our initial footprint. We think because of players from this region really understand the fabric of what Cowboy football is about. There's a long history that goes back to not only Bob Devaney, but Paul Roach and some of the great iconic coaches that have been here. And so that area is going to continue to be important for us. And then we branched out into other areas. The state of Texas is turning out to be a pretty fruitful area for us. California certainly is big, and then we continue to be everywhere from the Pacific Northwest over to the Wisconsin area, all the way down, as I said, to Texas. And so a big net. We think that that's important to do if we want to continue to make strides for us to win the Mountain West Conference, and that's going to be important. We're striving for consistency. I think this group is going to be noted really initially fortifying our lines of scrimmage, both on the offensive line and the defensive line. And I think you'll see us have an addition on one of those sides of the ball. And so we're really well pleased with that. A couple other positions that I think, we're always important to find a quarterback, which we've been able to do, find a running back, which we've been able to do. We still got some work to do, I think, at the wide receiver position. And so we're continuing to cull through some guys there. I think the corner position is another position that we'll look to add some guys in the second signing date. But some of these other positions we're really, really happy with. And so we have these guys in the bank. It was a great start. We're going to continue to move forward, certainly recruit. We cannot leave campus, but we'll be in touch with a lot of coaches and players during this next signing period. And so with that being said, I'm going to come back and answer some specific questions that you have of me. Ian's going to come up and do a quick run through of the guys that we have signed. And if there's any questions that you have specifically on the fellows that he's going to talk about or some other general questions, I'll stay here. We do have practice today, so my window's a little bit tighter, and that's a good thing. But I'll bring up Ian right now, and he'll go ahead and give a caption on each one of these guys. So, Ian, come on up.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go ahead and get started with the offensive side of the football with Caleb Driscoll. He's a fullback from Thunder Basin High School in Wyoming. Caleb is a tough, physical football player who plays hard. Coach Moore learned about him during the spring recruiting cycle. Caleb came to camp. We watched him perform his senior year, as Coach Bohl kind of mentioned. He went to see him play. After that, that's when we kind of felt good. We knew Caleb was our guy and that he was who we wanted. We feel that Caleb exemplifies what Wyoming football is all about with his physicality and his toughness. So staying on the offensive side of the football, we go to Gavin Barrett. He's a quarterback from St. Bonaventure High School in California. Gavin is competitive. He's athletic, smart, tough. He's got a good arm, accurate. This is the guy we targeted early to be our quarterback in this class. Coach Viggs had an opportunity to go see him, work with him at camp. Liked how he performed, and that's when we really knew he was our guy. So we're excited to have him. Look forward to getting him in our quarterback room and seeing what he can do for us in the near future. Staying on the offense side, we got Joey Brosh, a running back from Columbus High School in Nebraska. Again, he's everything you want in a running back. He's athletic, fast, elusive, tough. Again, Coach Shannon learned about him in the spring, came to camp, performed well. Wanted to see him a little bit during his senior year. It's another guy that Coach Bohl went to see live, checked out after that game, played well, and decided that's who we wanted as a running back. So we look forward to getting him in here and seeing him make some big plays for us in the future. Transitioning now to the defensive side, we got Wyatt Eckler. He's going to be a defensive back for us. He's from Windsor High School in Colorado. Very athletic. He's got good speed. But what we really liked about Wyatt is that he was really ultra competitive. He's a guy we've been recruiting since his junior year of high school. Steadily got better, came to camp, tested very well. He was really good in one-on-ones, very competitive, as I kind of mentioned before. And again, another guy that Coach Bohl went to see play live. That's a big part of our evaluation process. And then just as we continue to watch him through his senior year, we knew this is the guy we wanted, and we look forward to adding him to our defensive secondary. Moving to the offensive line from Millard South High School, Cole Herbolsheimer is going to play offensive guard for us. This is a guy we knew about pretty early on and liked during his junior year. He came to camp, really impressed Coach Miller with his explosiveness, strength, physicality, and we decided to offer him that day on the spot. And as you look at his senior tape that's playing, you can really see some of those traits on tape show themselves. He was our lone visitor for our game versus Idaho. So we actually got to spend a lot of time with Cole and his family, and he actually committed to us shortly after that. So we're really excited to add him to our offensive line. Transitioning to the defensive line, Gavin Meyer is going to play defensive tackle for us from Franklin High School in Wisconsin. Explosive athlete, very physical, gives great effort. Coach Gallagher and the rest of our defensive staff really targeted this guy early. Was very impressed with his junior film. Fast forward to the senior season, you still see a lot of those same dominant traits that you saw the year before. He actually visited us in June, came back for our game versus New Mexico, and we were really excited to get him on campus, and he committed to us here at the beginning of December, so we're really excited to have him on the defensive line. We feel he has a bright future for us. Next up is Nick Miles from Chaparral High School in Colorado. He's going to play some tight end for us. He's a physical blocker, athletic. He can run, he can catch. We actually offered him off his junior film, committed to us early, stuck with that commitment. That's something that's pretty important for us. He's going to be a big presence at tight end. He's a shade over 6'5". He's 250 pounds. Like I said, we're really excited to add him. Hopefully he can create some mismatches for us at that spot here in the future. Transitioning back over to defensive end, we got Oluwaseyi Amatosho from Bush High School in Texas. He's very explosive, got an explosive get-off, can change direction. He's physical, runs very well. This is a guy who did not have a lot of junior film out there, but we saw him at camp. He did extremely well. He was very dynamic, and we kind of knew then he was a guy we wanted in our program. We got him on campus for his official visit versus Missouri, and it wasn't too long after that he committed to us, and we're excited to have him. Staying on the defensive line, we got Caleb Robinson from Omaha Burke in Nebraska. He's going to play defensive tackle. Very explosive, got good strength, and he was extremely coachable. Again, he's another guy we knew about early in the spring, and like a lot of guys in our class, he was at camp where he really performed at a high level and left a good impression on our defensive staff. We watched one game his senior year, and after that, we knew we really wanted to get on this guy and make him part of our football team. So look forward to having him at defensive tackle. Coach Caligus did a great job developing a relationship with him and his dad, Avery, and we're excited about him. Next up is Braden Siders, defensive end from Ralston Valley High School in Colorado. Explosive athlete, very violent, plays the game the way the game is supposed to be played. He plays with extreme passion. Very impressive young man who has overcome a lot of adversity in his life. Coach Cooper really did a great job getting to know him, and he actually was our first commitment of this 2020 class. So he's been with us for quite a while. We couldn't be more excited to have Braden as a member of this football team, and we look forward to seeing him out there. Staying at defensive end, we got Cameron Smith from Legend High School in Colorado. Cameron's a guy we've been recruiting for a while. He came to camp as a junior, and that's where he kind of caught our eye initially. We knew this is the guy we needed to track. Came back to camp as a senior, had really improved his athleticism on top of his physicality, his strength, and the effort he played with. And that's when we really knew this is a guy we wanted in our class, and he's here, and we look forward to having him. Going to the defensive secondary now, we got Cameron Stone. He's a cornerback out of Angleton High School in Texas. This guy is everything you look for in a corner. He's got good quickness. He's explosive, fast, competitive, good ball skills. Another young man who's overcome some adversity in his life and has really flourished not only on the football field but in the classroom as well. A little bit of an interesting story. We were actually watching another guy when we kept seeing Cameron kind of pop up in the film a little bit. Didn't take us too long after that to realize this is a guy we wanted in our secondary. We love the way he plays, and we're excited to have a player of his caliber on the team. Transitioning back to offensive line, we got Mana Tamani from Clayton Valley Charter High School in California. Everything you want in an offensive lineman. Plays hard. He's violent, explosive, physical. He's athletic. Learned about him during spring recruiting as we were out. We had a lot of initial interest early. Did want to see him play his senior year. Credit to Coach Haug, Coach Miller. They watched him play his senior season and knew this is a guy we had to have, and we wanted to move on really quickly. He was actually here this last weekend. It was good to have him here. Went home, thought about it for a couple of days, and committed to us. So we're excited to have him. Look forward to him anchoring the offensive line for years here. Next up is Keyshawn Taylor. He's a safety out of Thomas Jefferson High School. What we initially liked about Keyshawn was just his raw athleticism. He's aggressive, he plays hard, he's fast, and he's somebody we've been recruiting since his junior year. And the traits that I just mentioned, you kind of see those carry over onto senior film as well. We're excited to add Keyshawn to our football team, and we look forward to him to carrying on a good tradition of safety play here at the University of Wyoming. Up next is Nofafia Tulafono from Oak Hills High School in California. This is a guy that Coach Richardson and Coach Miller had targeted actually very early in the spring. We had the opportunity to work with him at camp, where he was very impressive. He was powerful, he was physical. The athleticism for his size was very good. And you kind of see that translate as well into senior film. That's a big part of our process. So we knew pretty quickly this was the guy we wanted in our program. Came on his official visit for our game versus New Mexico, committed while he was on the visit, and he's been solid with us ever since. Going back to the defensive side of the ball, we have Brent Van Der Veen. He's a linebacker from Cedro Woolley High School in Washington. Good speed, athletic, aggressive, great effort on both sides of the ball. It's one of the things that attracted us to him. Plays on both sides, rarely left the field. Coach Caligas did a great job of identifying Brent as a guy who was a fit for our program, and then we kind of targeted him as somebody we wanted to do a early senior season eval on. And he took his visit for the Colorado State game, decided to commit a couple days after. We're excited about Brent. We feel very fortunate to have him in our program. I think he's going to be a good player for us at linebacker. Going to safety now, we have Isaac White from Malvern Prep in Pennsylvania. Tough, athletic, aggressive, good ball skills. But what really attracted us most to Isaac initially were his intangibles. He's a coach's kid. He's got a great work ethic. He's smart, and we're really looking for him to grow into a leader for this football program. We're excited that Isaac has signed with us. Look for him to make a pretty big impact for us here in the future. Last but not least, we have Malik Williams from Hayward High School in California. Athletic, strong, physical. He's strange to finish at the point of attack. Another guy that was on our radar pretty early. We initially really liked his size and athleticism combination. We were recruiting him really as both the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman, and just kind of wanted to let the senior film tell us exactly what he was going to do for us in the future. Watching the senior film, we felt offensive tackle would be his best fit. So it's another good talent that we're adding to the offensive line. We're excited to have him. So that really rounds out our recruiting class, and with that, I'll pass it back to Coach. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ian. Ian and Jacob Claiborne and some other interns have done a phenomenal job. Recruiting is a continual process. You need to be recruiting all year long. This class is a reflection of a year's work, and as Ian was saying, actually 2 years' work. And so we're really pleased. Did we get everybody we wanted? No. I think any coach that says that they did, they're out and out lying to you, or they're not recruiting the right guys. But I do think we got a lion's share of the guys that we wanted in this first class. As I said, we came out with a plan between the camps that we were able to go to, our camp here, spring recruiting. It all makes a difference. I also want to say thanks to our administration. You know, what happened, as Kevin was saying 7 years ago, this was the beginning part of the Cowboy match, and those dollars have allowed us to be able to do thorough jobs in recruiting, and it's beginning to show with the performance and consistent performance on our field. So I want to note that as well. So at this time, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that are out there, because I can comment on each one of these guys right now. The only guy I can't comment on is the guy over in the Ivory Coast.
Have you ever had such an embarrassment of riches on the offensive line before?
Say that again. This is a long, good question.
So have you ever had such an embarrassment of riches before on the offensive line like this?
An embarrassment of riches.
So many guys to choose from.
That, just speak plainly here. We're in Wyoming. You know what? No, but we needed to fortify our offensive line. You can see the number of injuries we've had and the benefit that we've had by having those players out there. I think we worked really hard. That was a point of emphasis. And then sometimes the stars align right too. Some of the guys that fall one way or the other, this is a case where some of the stars fell in the right way. And offensive line and defensive line, those positions are guys that you really recruit, and then you count on them playing typically in about 2 or 3 years. And so these guys are going to be part of that. Some of them may play earlier, but the potential's there, the work habits are there, the size, and so we're really pleased with that.
Offensive tackle, you signed 2 of them. I know that's a position that's sort of thin for you guys.
And we could have more.
Would you like to add more than that?
Yes. Yep. Never know when another letter's going to come in. Okay? Yeah, but that's an important position. And, you know, if you look in the NFL where they pay big money, that's one of those positions. Other questions around? Yes, David?
Coach, you built kind of a base with these recruiting classes. Is there some sort of kind of overall mark that you look at with this class, just adding to that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when Tom Berman and I first met, he stated very plainly that he wanted to play Cowboy tough football. And beyond having a slogan on the T-shirt, players do make a difference. And those Cowboy tough guys, there has to be players who really come here because they buy into what the University of Wyoming is about. And we begin to, you hear the word culture in a locker room, that's beginning to permeate through our football team. The older players are talking to the younger players, and then the guys that we attract in recruiting are buying into that. And so whether it's the lines of scrimmage, which some of the other members from the media talked about, the offensive line or defensive line, it's just a whole mantra with all those other guys. And we think that's going to be our ace in the hole. We feel like for us to be successful and ultimately win the conference and then continue to be one of the premier teams, you've got to be tough here. Football is a physical game. I say it's a man's game played by men, and it'll bare your soul naked. And that's our brand of football that we play. And so we're attracting those guys. And we think by having that type of mentality, that's going to allow us to be, consistent. Now, beyond that, we've got to have speed and athleticism, which we think we're addressing. However, I think that some of those need to be supplemented in this second class. Yes.
Are there any plans for any of the guys to enroll early?
Yes. A couple of them, I think right now we have plans for 2, I believe, Ian, 2 that are going to enroll early, and that's been sprinkled from time to time. There's a real benefit. Last year you saw the benefit with Malik Williams coming in early. He's been able to be further along as a freshman, and so we're excited about that.
Can you talk a little more about that Al-Lawasi, if I got that right?
We call him Shea,
Oh, there you go.
double O.
Yeah, double O, that works.
How do you say it again?
The full name?
Huh?
The full name?
Yeah.
Oluwaseyi.
Damn, he's doing good. Shea.
Seems like you guys just found.
Well, how we found him, we were down at the Stephen F. Austin camp, and that's a camp that it's in East Texas. That's somewhat of a football-rich area, but it attracted players from Dallas, Fort Worth, and along with that, Houston. A lot of the coaches that were in the Big 12 were down there, so there was a lot of people there. I know this. He was a defensive end, and we clocked him. He was clocked a couple times, low 4.5 or under 4.5. He had a big frame, great explosion. We saw him on one-on-one drills. We were fired up about him, and then we accelerated the recruiting process. He fell in love with us. He came up to the Missouri game. It was a great atmosphere, and then he committed, and he held firm through this whole recruiting process. It's an area, I lived in Houston for 5 years. It's in the Fort Bend area. It's an emerging area, but we think he's a really, really talented player.
Would it be safe to maybe compare him to a Carl Granderson type when he was that young? And
I think he's further along than Carl. Carl was a stand-up, skinny guy. If he stood sideways, you couldn't hardly see him. Now, Carl he was taller, but Shea is more explosive at that age, and so the opportunity for him to be ready-made. Carl played at a young age because we had to have him, but we think this guy's really, really an outstanding player. Yes, Davis.
You're not big, biggest guy on stars, but right at half of your commits or signings are 3-star kids. I'm curious.
I didn't know that. That's the first time I knew that.
You
Right.
talked about obviously wants to win the Mountain West, and you're in the same division as the Boise team that recruits at a very high level. Was there a more considered effort to bring in more higher caliber talent?
Here's what we will not lose sight of. We knew, Davis, that consistency and certainly beating Missouri was a big, big start. But sometimes what happens is guys lose track of who they are, and they start, okay, we can attract, and I didn't know that all these guys had more stars, but what happens is some coaches take their eye off the ball and they forget, let's dance with who brung us. And so then you start trying to recruit these hotshot recruits, and you get these prima donna guys. And so what we did not do was veer off from our profile. And now, what occurred was because of the success, we gotten better, higher graded talent. But I gave marching orders to our staff. Let's not forget who we are, what kind of guy we're looking for. But I know this, they're damn good football players. And whoever gives out those stars, it's going to sound like an arrogant statement. I think I know more than, and forgot more than some of those guys know on them stars. And that sounds arrogant, I know, but they're good, and maybe some other people recognized it. I know I think it is the best class we've had since I've been our head coach. I can tell you that, and that's a pretty bold statement because I think we've done well, but this one's a good one, and I think we're going to add some more good players here.
How many more are you looking to add even total?
You know, we're at 18 right now. We're in hopes we're going to get to 19 really shortly. And so then you're looking at, maybe the low 20s as we go. We could potentially go up to 25, but there's some wiggle room that we have here. And so, if you get to 22, 23, we'll see where we're at. We're always also in the term, I know it was on ESPN today and everybody's talking about the transfer portal. We are cautious about delving into that. However, if you looked at this last year, the two guys that we added from transfers, I think were both hits, and they fit into the makeup of our team, and they were good players.
On the subject of the transfer portal,
Yes.
what's Tyler's situation now that he's applying for that? Does that affect anything?
Tyler has been a great teammate, and he's done everything that we've asked him to do here. He's going to graduate. He's been a supportive teammate. And so these are options. When guys come and they fulfill what they aim to do is graduate, then we're all supportive of that. We want to wish him the very best as he moves forward. I do know that he's got a laser-like focus on this football game as he's had good practices. But, we looked, and he had indicated that he was going to look to graduate early, which we were supportive of, obviously. And so we had put some things in place. I think this was really going to be important to sign a quarterback in this class. And so we looked for, our makeup of our guy, and we think Gavin is that guy, a guy who is a multi-sport guy who's played other positions, that's got good height. And if you look at between, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, and maybe the Levi and Sean, they all have that athleticism. So we're excited about Gavin, but it was imperative. It was imperative that we sign our quarterback, and Gavin was the one we wanted.
So this didn't catch you by surprise?
No, not at all.
Coach, safe to say wide receiver, maybe a big emphasis for a couple spots moving forward?
Yeah, and we have some concern about that. I'm not concerned, but it is. Now, we've got a board. Now, we don't show that board to anybody, but it's hidden. But there's a board with a whole lot of good players on there. And a lot of those guys, as we went through, we kind of knew where we were at. But it's going to be important that we sign a couple, at least two, and potentially three at that spot. I think we're establishing being able to run the football better, and our numbers indicate that, but we cannot be one-dimensional. We have to be able to be more explosive and throw the ball better. We have to have a higher completion percentage, and that comes into, protecting up front, which these offensive linemen down the road are going to help with, to be able to run the football. but we have to be able to complete it better, but also, moreover, get more explosive plays. If you remember back, I think in our 16 season between Hollister and Tanner, I mean, it was just big play after big play. We've got to get back to doing that. Yes?
Would linebackers also be kind of a point of emphasis?
We'll probably sign one more. And so, you know, we were in a dogfight with a couple guys there, and it didn't go our way, but there's a good pool there. And like I said, if you get everybody that you wanted, the bar's not high enough. But yeah, we need to sign another linebacker. Other questions that are out here? Can't think of anything else. Big day, a lot on horizon for Cowboy football. I appreciate the interest that is here. We're going to continue to keep on pushing that ball forward and play Cowboy tough football. So that being said, I'll close off. Thank you very much.